r/AskReddit. What is the trashiest thing somebody has done at your family Thanksgiving? My mom told my cousin's husband not to cuss in front of their baby because she'll eventually repeat it. I get it, not her place maybe? Cousin's husband pulls out his gun and threatens to shoot my mom for telling him what to do. He looks exactly like you'd imagine. The woman my cousin had just married stole a Costco-sized box of individually wrapped Cheez-It packages from our garage. I just happened to notice they were gone when putting food in the fridge. Asked about it publicly and she locked up, started stuttering, and went to get them out of her car. She returned with the excuse, "I thought these were mine. I have a box just like them at home." My uncle poured Crown Royal on his turkey and ate it. Marinating meat is important. Is this the upgrade of rum ham? One of my mom's friends was invited to our Thanksgiving because her kids were at their SO's families for the holiday. That year, my uncle brought a bottle of homemade limoncello to share. The stuff was delicious, but it was also 50% alcohol. Everyone was drinking it out of little 1-ounce glass cups. My mom's friend instead poured herself a full wine glass, half the bottle, when no one was looking, downed it in 15 minutes, and then tried to go back for more. She was passed out drunk at least an hour before dinner even began. My husband's brother and his sister-in-law, who was married to his other brother, always disappeared for about 20 to 40 minutes at the same time. This happened for 4 years in a row before anyone got nosy enough to go looking for them. Sister-in-law is now married to the Thanksgiving hookup brother. The Thanksgiving hookup brother. My favorite Lifetime movie. My father's girlfriend sat at the head of the table at my house and acted like she was the hostess while monopolizing the entire conversation. I was her waitstaff. It was my first time meeting her. 5 years later they are still together, but I haven't seen her in 4 years, 11 months, and 29 days. It was trashy but I goddamn loved it. We have this one uncle who has a bit of trouble with some serious drugs. He feels like he doesn't belong in our very religious family. Which I understand. I feel like I don't belong being an atheist and smoking weed. But anyways, the family actually loves him. So my grandparents throw this huge Thanksgiving, 50+ people. He shows up pretty late. Walks around, says hi once to everyone. Grabs 2 pies and just walks out the door. Ducking hero. Faked a heart attack. It was very surreal. And her husband was so embarrassed. Edit, here's what happened. Grandmother didn't like my dad very much, and she picked a fight with him, so he decided that he was going home. When grandmother realized that my stepmom, her daughter, was going to take dad's side and go home too, she yelled a lot and then, as a last-ditch effort, dramatically clutched her chest and collapsed very carefully. It was outside and I guess she didn't want to bump her head or muss her clothes. Dad offered to call 911. Grandfather said it wasn't necessary, and when grandmother realized no one was taking her seriously, she opened her eyes, allowed grandfather to help her up, and went inside with him while fake sobbing. Normally she was quite nice, but she had her moments and really wasn't happy that her daughter had grown up and had a life. Holidays usually brought out the worst in her. Which was weird because she loved cooking and celebrating. We were hosting Thanksgiving and prepared all the food ourselves, and my mom spent all morning cooking and baking. My aunt, uncle and cousins arrive right before dinner and walk in with a White Castle case and said they just stopped to eat a few minutes ago. We had prepared Thanksgiving just for them and they decided that they wanted White Castle instead. I would have told them to walk right back out. She was responsible for bringing the dessert. She showed up 3 hours late and instead of bringing dessert she brought an open bag of frozen pea ridges. It was a real downer. My cousin always says she'll bring bread. She's always at least an hour late, shows up with her duck of the week and a bag of with sliced sandwich bread, or stale rolls. My aunt got drunk and then naked. She ran down the street stark naked after hitting on my cousin's boyfriend. Her kids saw it all. They were all under the age of 12. She then cried the whole next day because everyone was mad at her. I called CPS because she tried driving drunk with the kids. A few weeks later she got drunk at the same house by the pool. She lost balance when she stepped into the pool filter. She first hit the pool but caught herself with the hand that was holding the glass beer bottle. The shards of glass bottle ended up inside of her cheek and neck. After hitting the ground and passing out, she rolled into the pool and would have died if others hadn't fished her out. She is still an alcoholic. She's not invited to Thanksgivings anymore because she now does meth. My uncle and grandfather don't have a good relationship, but were tolerating each other because Thanksgiving. My uncle was cooking lasagna and my grandfather decided to help, so he grated the cheese. He did this in another room, because the kitchen was full of other people cooking. We have a big Thanksgiving, maybe 15 to 20 who love to eat. I had brought in the cheese and everything was going fine. Flash forward to dinner time. The food is coming out and as tradition dictates we always start with lasagna. My grandfather made some joke like, "I know you hate me, but at least I'm great," and shut hit the fan. My uncle literally went into a rage, and was yelling at everyone because we didn't tell him he was using tainted cheese. Then said duck it and proceeded to flip the table all the food was on. Then my grandfather called him outside to settle the score, which resulted in two grown men fist fighting in the backyard, culminating with my granddad getting thrown into the pond we lived off of, and slicing his leg on a jagged rock that he landed on. The rest of us ordered Chinese food, and kicked my uncle out, and my grandfather refused the hospital because he had a little too much holiday joy in him at the time. Surprising my uncle hasn't come to holidays in years now. Lol, where to start? My sister left the table with a plate of food she said she was taking to a homeless person she knew like halfway across town for some duck-in reason. Found her in the alley laying and the plate passed out on smack. My dad once hooked up with my aunt-in-law, be specific on Reddit, while they were making my parents' bed again for some duck-in reason and I was in the room like a gourd so I dipped and went and told my mom. Was 5. My stepbrother was just released for drug possession and distribution. Total black sheep of the family. Brings his girlfriend who is high out of her mind. They proceed to eat nothing but turkey and rolls. Then she decided to go shoot up in my step-aunt's bathroom to where we found her passed out. My stepbrother attempts to wake her up by punching her in his words the cooter. Cops are called. Big Thanksgiving dinner at the in-laws. Even my in-laws' extended family members were there, and out of nowhere my mom tries to start a conversation with "I'm not a racist but," and I didn't even hear the rest because I was laughing because she most definitely was a racist. That was the last year she was invited. I'm not racist, but these rolls are tasty. My aunt Janie took a bunch of Xanax, and who knows what else, on top of a jug of Carla or C that she had hidden in her room. She then proceeded to steal every spoon in the house while the rest of us were drinking and playing games. Every single spoon. We found them in her purse. Why just the spoons? My mother-in-law died one September after knowing she had cancer for less than a year. My parents invited her widower husband to have Thanksgiving with us. He spent much of the time giddily talking about dating apps. My husband was not amused. This isn't exactly tacky, more like unintentionally hilarious. I invited a couple of my friends to Thanksgiving dinner at my parents' house around 15 years ago since they didn't have any local family. They wound up sitting near my grandmother, who rambled for a solid 5 minutes about how when she was a kid her house was full of pussy ants. Some weird grandma story that I can't exactly remember now. But my grandma wouldn't stop saying the word pussy, and my friends and I just sat there sipping our wine, barely making eye contact and trying not to die. My aunt decided to announce she got chlamydia as we started to eat and my grandmother told her getting stuffed by random people is for turkeys. I laughed really hard. Every year we had Thanksgiving at my grandparents' house. One year everyone was there but one aunt. She was outside in her car refusing to come in. Turns out she had taken out a credit card in my cousin's name while said cousin was in the Navy. Cousin found out on the drive over while opening her mail. Aunt had racked up $10,000+ debt for my cousin. Edit. Cousin did not pay, her father made her mother pay her back using part of her retirement. Seems this was just one of the first signs my aunt was not in her right mind anymore. My cousin did not want to press charges but was able to get her credit back up with some work after the debt was paid off by her mother. There were a couple of other things my aunt had done but nothing like this. Unfortunately, she was literally out of her mind and only got worse. That Thanksgiving was one of the last ones where our family got together like that. My uncle, aunt and cousins never came back after that one. They did visit again at other times, but aunt was medicated and not like herself anymore. How to get sued by your own offspring, a guide.